All right, welcome back, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. It is another episode of the Disney Movie Review. No, we do not have any music, Cameron. Just get over it. But the benefit is, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you're going to get this whole episode all in one. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to get split up into different pieces, but that's okay. And joining us today is the lovely and talented Mrs. Alexis. I'm not going to use your last name because we didn't talk about using last names. But Mrs. Alexis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, thanks. Oh, no, great to have you. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about this because I really want to get into kind of what we're here to talk about, which is the Disney magic that exists inside Disney parks. Cameron and Alexis have both had some of the most magical experiences that I've heard about over the last 6 months or so. And I just want to hear more about these magical experiences and then kind of dive into where the magic is in the parks, where the magic is not in the parks. And one of the big reasons I want to do this is because Disney recently released a deal for its Disney Vacation Club members that gives them 20% off of their VIP tours. So these are the people in plaid, vests and whatnot that you see leading people around the park. These are the people that get to go through all the lines and cut everything. These are those people. Disney never discounts these, ever. They do not discount these. And the fact that they're discounting these things by 20% shows that there is some sort of a problem, some sort of an issue that is allowing Disney to do the 20% VIP tour. So before we get into all of that, though, Alexis, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit about your magical experience at Disney World, because I guess I haven't even said what your magical experience was.
Yeah. So my magical experience was getting married at Disney World in the parks. Um, And so, yeah, my partner and I got engaged in 2019, just before the pandemic. And we kind of decided and knew at the time we wanted to get married in Disney. That was kind of, we're both huge Disney fans. Pandemic hit and threw all of our plans, of course. Um, but we recently obviously got the chance to actually do it. It took about year to a year and a half of planning. But yeah, we ended up having a wedding in Epcot in the France area, and we had a bunch of events and things around that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to show some of your photos from the wedding. Sorry if you're listening to this on the podcast. But some of these photos are just gorgeous. You were gorgeous. I was lucky enough to be at the wedding, and you were gorgeous. Alex was
Thank you.
amazingly handsome. Here I am using names again. I apologize.
You're fine. You're fine.
Um, but I mean, you can see here in this picture, you got you two kissing. The fireworks are going off. You had like this special area for the fireworks. Your cake was just, not only did it taste really good, they have Eve and Wally. You also have Mr. Fredrickson and Ellie on the cake. It's just wonderful. Sorry, I was thinking about her vows again, and they were like, I'm gonna cry if I think about her vows. Anyways, Mickey and Minnie come to the wedding, which is amazing. This is a photo of me and my family. You can see I look like a hobo, but Alexis was kind enough to again invite me to the wedding and allow me to come, which was amazing. Alexis looking stunning in the where is this? This is the garden.
UK, yeah, it's I think like the Butterfly Garden or something is what it's called. But yeah, it's the UK area in Epcot.
Yeah. And then back here, nobody at the park. I'm curious, was this actually the night of the wedding, or did you have to wear it?
No. So I ended up wearing the dress uh, 3 different times. Um, so we had 2 different photo sessions. One was at Epcot where the photos were taken. The last photo was taken. We did a portrait session, and yeah, that one's from the Epcot photo portrait session, and then the other one is from the Magic Kingdom one. Both were on separate days from the wedding, so I got 3 different days use out of a wedding dress, which is a great. I feel like a great ratio.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and this one is just one that I love. This is Alexis and her partner Alex kissing on the teacups. Not like inside a teacup, everybody around, all that stuff. No, like literally on the teacup ride. And is this more I can't tell. Is this morning or night?
Yeah, so all of the theme park sessions are all in the morning, and they have to be you have to be done an hour before the park opens. And
Wow.
so
So you're
the
up at like 4 a.m.
yeah, our day started. I think we started hair and makeup at 3:30 in the morning, um, 3:30 or 4, and then we got picked up at I want to say like 5:30 or 6. You get driven to the parks, and then you get sort of taken around to different spots. For Magic Kingdom, there's 3 different routes they can take you on. You just pick a route. For other parks, you can basically just say, I would like to go here and here, and they'll just customize wherever you want to go for taking pictures.
Nice.
Now,
Was
Alexis,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Cameron.
Um, for those 3 different routes at Magic Kingdom, do they all include the castle, or is the castle only included in like one of those routes?
They all include the castle. They all start
Okay.
at the castle. One goes up and around past Teacups, which is the one we did. One goes down through past the Haunted Mansion, that direction. And I honestly don't remember where the third one goes. But yeah,
Okay.
you just kind of pick which route and it goes. Everybody starts at the castle and then you go wherever you're going next.
Okay.
Okay, side
Cool.
note. I'm sorry. One more question. Now, are there multiple couples there? Or is it kind of like oh, it's just you and one photographer? Or is it just like, all right, we got 10 couples. Here we go. Get it going.
They only do So they do a maximum of one couple per route per day.
Oh, okay.
So there's only up to 3 couples there. We had only one couple there for our day. We had one other couple, and we didn't actually even see them until almost towards the end. We saw them from a distance and waved at them. So, um, Disney World's pretty big, so
Yeah.
lot of space.
Yeah. Um, okay, so tell me this. What was for you going down? Actually, well, real quick, just heading back to something you said. Um, 2019, you get engaged. You know that you want to have this wedding in Disney World. Um, what like did Disney cancel a 2020 plan? Did y'all like how did that kind of work between you and Disney?
Yeah, so we hadn't actually. So we started to think about sort of dates and what we wanted to do. Disney has specific timelines. You can't, so you can start the contact at 16 months out. You can actually start to engage with planning 12 months out when you're doing your wedding with them. And that's when you can actually sign up for a date and, you know, start the real process. Um, and so we were kind of thinking about our dates and what we wanted to do. Um, we weren't in a rush to do anything, so we were thinking probably February of 2021 was our date. So we were going to do at the 16-month mark, basically start the conversation, and then the 12-month mark, actually book a date. Um, but obviously, pandemic hit before we even hit the 16-month mark. And so we actually didn't even get a chance to like reach out and start the discussions until um, until much later. So
But it was trying to think of when we're at. So it was 2 years delayed, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
basically, um, yeah, we did. So we were February 2023. Uh, we started talking to them. I think the moment we could. So I think we started like we sent an initial contact in like November of 2021 or something, and
Okay.
then um, did our official planning starting February of 22.
Got it. Awesome. Okay, so let's put rubber to the road. For you, what was the most magical experience? I mean, you wanted to have your Disney, and can I say that you had to fly across the country, like literally fly across the country to to get to Disney
Yes.
World? So you wanted to do this whole thing. What was the most magical experience for you?
It is really hard to pick and to say. I think for me, number one and number two are pretty close for very different reasons. So number one is definitely sort of the reception and the ceremony and having everybody. It was just great. I mean, it was really wonderful to just have everyone we really cared about there present. It was a beautiful night. We were worried a little bit about the weather, but it ended up being like the absolute perfect temperature.
It was great.
Like
It was.
everything just kind of like lined up perfectly on that night, and it was really great. So it was great to have everybody there. That was kind of a number one, but a really close number two is actually we did a VIP tour with the wedding party 2 days, no, one day before. So the night before the wedding, we did a VIP tour with our wedding party and everybody's partners, and we went through and did the VIP tour, and that was a hugely fun experience. But it was also just fun to have all 10 people just kind of running around, having fun together, going through the parks. It's not often you get to do that with that big of a group, and especially when you've got the VIP tour and you're not standing and waiting in lines for 3 hours the whole time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And during your wedding, I will say that was back when people were actually going to Disney World and the lines were long. And we waited in a line for Soarin' it was supposed to be like 70 minutes. I swear it was 90 minutes. And yeah, so definitely a time when the lines were long. Cool to do the VIP tour, which is exactly what we started with. Not to get you on Disney's bad side or anything, but I'm curious to know, was there anything that was less than magical about the experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and this is something that actually changed post-pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, the wedding staff was actually really well staffed, and they would start planning like. So when you're going through the process, there's a bunch of different stages. You sort of start high-level planning 12 months out, but you don't start talking to your specific wedding planner until what used to be 6 months out. So you would actually get assigned a specific wedding planner. This one person would be in charge of like the actual planning, coordination, all of that. There's a different day of person and all of that, but the wedding planner is sort of responsible for everything ahead of time. But after the pandemic, so during the pandemic, let everybody go. When they brought everybody back, they did not fully staff it. And so it basically started where instead of that 6 months out, we started getting towards 2 or 3 months was actually the window when you start talking to the wedding planner. And so that makes it a really tight timeline to actually come up with all of the things. Now, obviously, everything worked out. It was great. Everyone was involved in making it a super magical night, which was wonderful. But it definitely was a very quick turnaround because you're starting at the 3-month mark and you have to have everything solidified before the 30-day mark. Your full budget has to be like solid by that point. You can add to it after that, but you can't subtract from it. So you basically have anywhere from 30 to 60 days to make sure every detail that you want is buttoned down so you have the final price so you can pay it 30 days out.
Okay. Is it like... Oh, go ahead, Cameron. Sorry.
I was just saying that's just unnecessary stress. Because if you're thinking about it, like, if you're at the 3-month mark and then you have like oh yeah, well, everything has to be finalized 30 days out. So you don't have 3 months to plan. Like, you have two.
Right.
And I mean, you think like, oh, 2 months, like weeks go by like this.
Yep, yep. And it's a long
Oh.
turnaround too because they are understaffed. So uh, oftentimes you'd send an email and you wouldn't hear back for like 4 or 5 days. And
You're
so
eating
Oh
my
my
clock.
gosh, are you
Stop eating my
serious?
clock.
yeah. So it ends up being as you get closer, obviously that turnaround time gets much quicker. But especially at the beginning, like you're basically waiting 4 or 5 days
No.
between emails sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Reclaiming my time.
Okay.
Reclaiming my time.
So once you're there though, did you feel like you were, straight up VIP? Like,
Oh, definitely. So everybody, like, for each of the events around it, everyone was fantastic. All the cast members were great. Um, One of the things that I actually really appreciated was weddings are chaos. You oftentimes, like, there's so many people, you're talking to, like, time is flying by. Um, and a common thing is you don't eat because you're so distracted by everyone and everything. Uh, but one of the things that I really appreciated, they had 2 day of coordinators for us, and they basically made sure that like, there was a certain point they came over like, hey, I noticed you haven't eaten yet. I made you a plate. It's over. Just go have a seat,
nice.
eat it, whatever. And so there was a lot of like little moments like that where just felt very taken care of at a personal level, like where I didn't have like we didn't worry about any of the details on day of. Like we weren't worried about anything. We were just kind of like, yeah, told where to go, helped out whatever we needed help. Everything was helped out for us, I should say. We weren't doing the helping out, but yeah,
I
it
think
was great.
I think it also helps. And well, this is my perception. It did not seem like you were Bridezilla in any way, shape, or form. I got to the wedding and I was like, Alexis, look at your dress. What is it? What type of dress is it? And you were like, I don't know. Like, it's a dress. I was like, okay. I don't know if you were just being kind about like me not knowing, but like you seemed to just be so chill. And even I didn't put one of these pictures up here, but you have pictures of you and Alex wearing sneakers and all that sort of thing. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we definitely tried to keep it fairly relaxed. We went through several different phases in planning the wedding. One of the phases had, I think, over 100 guests. We're like, no, we don't want to do that. Let's not do that. And that was just family. Like that was before we got to friends and other people. So um, our final guest list was something like 30, 36 or something, I think. So it was pretty small, which is great. Um,
I can't believe I made that cut.
yeah, we kept it to mostly just immediate family, but kind of our priority for the whole thing was to keep it, you know, it's going to be a wonderful day. And the wonderful part is that we get married, and stuff was going to go well, stuff was going to go wrong. And, you know, as long as we had everybody there having fun, and as long as we sort of got married at the end of it, we were good.
Yeah. If you can't tell, Alexis is an amazing person. Like, she. I tell my wife this. Like, I have learned so much about love, like literally just love in general, by just being around Alexis, watching her, listening to her talk, and all that stuff. If you ever like get the chance to interact with her, email address, whatever, everything is love. It's like at love.com, at love, like everything is love. But that's literally like who she is and just embodies that. So thank you, Alexis. I appreciate the overview.
I feel like you're
of...
overselling me here, but
I am
thank
not
you.
at all. I am not at all. When we worked together, I'd like come home. We were remote, but like come home from work, and give my wife some sort of like bit of wisdom or whatever, and I'd be like, "That's from Alexis. Like that's not mine. I can't claim that." So yeah. So all right, I'm gonna put you over here, Alexis. Thank you for that, Cameron. I want to talk to you about your experience. I'm gonna go dark for just a second so I can find that photo that I know you're gonna talk about.
Oh.
But why don't you tell me a little bit about your recent magical experience?
Well, where do you want me to start? Do you just want me to?
Alexis did this without any issue. I mean, she
Okay.
just started
See.
without any issue. So I don't
Okay.
understand what the
So,
problem is.
okay. So we recently went to Disneyland, on the other side of the coast, um, for my daughter's dance team. Her dance team was performing in the park. Not any sort of competition or anything, but they have like I want to say Disney Imagination Campus. And so she was doing that with her dance team. So we decided to make a trip out of it. We had taken each of our kids to Disneyland before their third birthday. It's the free before three thing. We were planning on taking my son, but then COVID. So, yeah. So then she had this trip. We were like, well, we haven't had his trip. We might as well just make a family thing out of it. So let's go. So we go down to Disneyland, and it starts off great. My mom was able to come out with us the night before we started, because we never usually go to the parks the day of like travel day. Night before, we got to see a bunch of family hadn't seen in years. That was great. So we get there to the parks, and one of the things that my whole family loves is Magic Happens, and we had never seen it live. We had only seen the YouTube video. So we're like, we have to watch Magic Happens. We have to watch Magic Happens. So we get to a spot. We're pretty much right on the hub, like right by the partner statue. We're sitting there waiting. My kids are sitting down, and I'm standing up, and I'm looking, and I see this guy walking, and I just freak out. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I start running with my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, Josh, so good to see you. Can I get a picture? And he's like, yeah, sure. Come on. So then I get this picture.
Wait,
with
who is Josh?
Josh D'Amaro. He is the VP, president of Parks, Resorts, Experiences, and Products. Yeah.
I think that's right. Sounds right. Sure,
So all of the Disney parks, Adventures by Disney, Disney Cruise Line, Disney merchandise, like all of that stuff. That's what he's over. So he's like literally like second to Bob Iger. So I was freaking out. No one else was like, even, I don't know if they didn't know he was there, or they didn't know who he was, or if they were just like, it's Josh D'Amaro. We see him all the time. So I got a picture, and I was like,
this is a picture of Cameron. You can see this. It's him and Josh. Josh is not wearing his tag.
he's not wearing his name tag, which my brother pointed out.
I think that's why he was hesitant to get in the picture.
Yeah. Because I think he was like, okay, I'm off the clock. I'm not working. I'm going to Disney.
I think a cast member is always supposed to be in their costume, which is I think that's why, probably.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was there with his family and you were just totally being annoying. One of those two things could be true.
Yeah, I know he wasn't there with his family, because he was walking, like, it was him, another guy, and they were walking, and then there were like a couple of people behind them. So he may have been with his friends, but I don't think he was there with his family.
Okay. Anyway, keep going. What was the other magical experience that you had when you were at Disneyland?
So then I met Bob Iger. No, I did not.
By the way, though, that's a good point, because a lot of people say that Josh could be the next CEO of the Disney company, and so you could have potentially met the next CEO of the Disney company. So
you never know. So the other thing that happened was we were watching the fireworks, and this was the second time we watched the fireworks, because the first time we watched it at the castle. Don't do it if you're at Disneyland. Don't watch the fireworks at the castle. It's not worth it. It's not. It's not. Just back
Hey,
up.
everybody
Don't
has
back
an
up.
opinion. That's fine.
Back up
I
along
haven't
Main
seen them.
Street. Go to the thing. It's a small castle. The projections don't show up well, and so we were like, hey, tonight let's go watch the fireworks over at Small World, because Small World is infinitely better at Disneyland. They have the projection on Small World, and so we're like, let's watch that. And it turned out that was great, because that night they ended up not doing the fireworks. They just did the projection because it was so windy. Well, while we were standing over there, my daughter was talking to someone in guest services. Well, guest services, they all wear the plaid vest. So not all of them do tours and stuff, but they all wear the plaid vest. Well, we were talking to her, and she was like, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be a plaid. And she's like, oh yeah, this is how I did it. I don't do tours yet, but it used to take like 2 years to get into guest services. She's like, I did it in like 6 months. They're not as strict with that. She's like, but you do have to be with the company for 2 years in order to give tours and stuff like that. So they were having a good chat, and then all of a sudden my son was like, I gotta go potty. So I had to take him off to the bathroom. Well, then when I came back, I did not see my family at all. And I was like, oh gosh, where'd they go? And I saw that same person. She's like, hey, they're in here. They got to sit in the VIP section, like where all the people who are getting tours. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, way to talk to her. Good job. So we're sitting down, and they announce that, they're not doing the fireworks. I was like, oh, this is perfect. We just get to sit and watch the projections. This is going to be awesome. So we're sitting watching the projections. All of a sudden, I get a text from my wife, who's literally just a couple seats down from me. She says, oh my gosh. I was like, what? Audrey, the plaid. Yes, I know. Don't tell Audrey. I was like, don't tell her what? You haven't told me anything. And she's like, oh, Audrey's going to freak out. And I'm like, okay, you're not telling me anything, so whatever. So the fireworks get done. And And I noticed we're leaving my mom. I was like, Mom, are you coming with us? She's like, no, you're fine. So we follow the plaid. That she's like, okay, follow me. So we're at Small World. And if you know anything about Disneyland Park, Disneyland, like Small World is out the way back of the park. So we're walking all the way to the front of the park. All of a sudden we stop by the fire station. So we get to the fire station. She's like, okay, wait right here. And then she goes backstage, I guess. I don't know. Comes back out. She's like, did you see anyone that is wearing looks like me wearing a plaid vest? We're like, no. And then all of a sudden this guy pops out. He's like, hello, my name is Omar. He's like, I am the Walt Disney historian. Da, 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 da. He's like, we are about to do something so very special. He's like, so can everyone do stairs? Like, yes. Okay. He's like, go ahead, and we're going to just park that stroller right over there. Please remember, we are going to go backstage. And since we are going backstage, there are no pictures. So just come on upstairs and follow me. So we go.
The story a lot longer than it needs to be.
I'm
but go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm excited.
You're just jealous that Alexis got so much time, and she.
Oh no, Alexis. Please believe me, Alexis' thing was far better. Far better. So no, we ended up getting to go to Walt's apartment. There was you can do it if you take a tour. There's a certain tour that you can do that goes to Walt's apartment. But because my daughter talked to this cast member and just made a connection with her, we got to go up to Walt's apartment and look around, and they told us about the history of it, see different things that, like if you look from where the person is standing that's taking the picture right there, like right behind him, there's a kitchenette. And that kitchenette is like 1960s style kitchenette, like 50s, 60s style kitchenette and stuff from there. But yeah, it was just a really cool experience getting to go up to Walt's apartment, not as a part of a tour group, anything like that. Just, hey, let me make this magical moment for this family that I just started talking to. So yeah, you can see us there looking out the window. with the lamp that they keep on.
what's the deal with the lamp?
The lamp that they have on, whenever Walt was in the park, they would have the lamp on so people would know, like, oh, we have to be at our very best. And then once Walt passed away, um, the the story is there was a person who was, I guess, cleaning, and she turned the lamp off and went downstairs, and then when she looked up, the lamp was on. And so I think ever since then, they're like, okay, we're just going to leave this lamp on, so Walt's spirit is always here in this park. So yeah, it was a very cool experience, just being in that space, because that's not something everyone gets to do. It's like the utilidors for Disney World. So
Yeah. Okay. Your son seemed to be rather unimpressed, which I thought was
he was
very.
all the way unimpressed. It was late. It was after fireworks. He was like, it's a room. And they are trying to preserve everything. And so there's like, you don't touch anything. And he was like, what's this over here? We're like, this is so boring. Okay. Yeah. Right now you say that, but just give it a few years and that'll be your two truths and a lie. And people will be like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. But he was so unimpressed. Very unimpressed.
Given that you had so many magical moments at Disneyland, what was the most magical for you while you were there?
This is going to be kind of funny. I guess the most magic was found in the parade. And I say that because we literally saw the parade 5 times. And that's not like 5 times of, oh, the parade's passing by. No, like planting ourselves and watching the parade from start to finish 5 times. And just having, I don't know, it was like a connection with the performers, and seeing most of the time when we watched it, only one time did we watch it where it wasn't like the very end, because the other times we watched it one time at the partner statue. The other time was at the, like, right at the beginning of Main Street. And then we went back to Small World, and we're like, we want to watch them right as they're about to leave. Like, encourage these people that are putting on this amazing show, dancing their hearts out for 30 minutes down Main Street and winding through Disneyland. So, yeah, it was cool meeting Josh. It was great going to the thing, but the fact that my kids wanted to see that show 5 times, like, that's telling from a performance standpoint. Like, okay, cast members, you're really doing your job.
Okay. That's great. Both of you had magical experiences. Last time I was in Disney was actually for your wedding, Alexis. Before that was for the Disney cruise, which I have thoughts about. And so I wanted to bring y'all on with your magic experiences at different coasts, with Disney going through such issues, bringing people into the parks and low attendance and things like that. I want to pretend that we're sitting down and talking with Bob Iger. And so Bob Iger wants to talk about your experience and talk about what you think Disney is doing right and what you think Disney is doing wrong. So, Alexis, let's start with you. You just got married. Well, not just, but recently got married inside of a Disney park. Bob Iger sits down with you. He says, Alexis, what are we doing right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is maybe not what Disney as a whole is doing right, but it's what cast members are doing right. Cast members, you can tell that they want to make the magic, and they want to make it feel like magic. And the number of, like, I don't think I've ever had a negative interaction with a cast member. And as someone who has worked in customer service, that is a miracle in itself. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that stands out to me, regardless of anything else, is the number of times it's just been a cast member makes a day, and a cast member makes things feel special or makes it magic. Uh, it's really what separates Disney from everything else. Like, it's the only park where you would go and you would expect that a cast member would do something like that. Um, you know, go to any other park, it's going to be, yeah, next, get on the ride, leave, all that jazz. So I
Gotcha.
think that's the biggest thing that stands out for me.
All right, Cameron, same question. Bob Iger sits down, says, "What are we doing right?"
I would have to piggyback off of what Alexis said. Like, it really is the cast members. Like the whole interaction that my daughter had and the connection that she made with that cast member that enabled us to go and have that magical moment of going into Walt's apartment. The connection that my kids had with watching the parade. We were watching the parade and of Cinderella. Is it Cinderella or Aurora? I think it's Cinderella. Anyways, she's up high, and it was my daughter's birthday, and she had her little birthday button on. You don't think they're like looking for that stuff? No, like she literally looked at my daughter and was like, "Happy birthday!" And that made my daughter like she said happy birthday to me. It's just those experiences that cast members make are those things that keep people coming back again and again. And I think that's the thing that people want to experience. That's the thing that makes it special, is the magical moments that cast members can create.
I'm like, I'm not going. I'm trying to like be on y'all's same page, but
You're like,
I just
wrong, wrong.
look. Okay, so I'm coming off of like a Disney cruise where like we couldn't even get Rapunzel to sign a book, right? Couldn't get Rapunzel to sign a book for us, which was very disappointing, right? That's like one of your things. I'm coming from, honestly, your wedding, Alexis. So Alexis goes by, in this like there's like this train of people, like, and she's leading. I don't know. I can't remember if you were leading or not. But like, I didn't know exactly where the wedding was going to be. I knew it was going to be somewhere in France, and so we didn't know exactly where. So we went back to the hotel, got changed, came, and then I saw Alexis in this like train of people. She was like the princess and all this stuff. And so I was like, "Oh, hey, Alexis," and she was like, "Hey," all this stuff. Now we're dressed in like formal attire, right? If you're watching this, you saw the picture. We're dressed in formal attire. We are waiting outside of France. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting there, and the girls are getting this, and people are lining up for fireworks and all this stuff. And then one of the cast members is like, "Oh, are you here for the wedding?" And I'm like,
Nope.
yeah.
Just wanted to get dapper up. It's our dapper day.
What else am I going to be standing here for? Like, and it's small. I will grant you that it is small, very, very small stuff. But I honestly, if you were to ask me, like, I am not sure what Disney's doing right now. Like, I don't know. The best cast member experience that I've had recently came when we were at Dollywood, and some of the stuff people do at Dollywood was really, really great. But yeah, and I'm very biased because of the price of Disney, right? Like, especially like on the cruise. You get on the cruise and it's like, okay, you pay a premium to go on a Disney cruise. Like, you could go on a Royal Caribbean for much cheaper. And I I'm walking
I
out.
want to
and I'm
go to
just
Royal
like,
Caribbean.
I could have gone to Royal Caribbean, especially the way they run their trivia, which is a whole nother thing. I'm not over it. I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but the way they run their trivia is just ridiculous.
Alexis, I really hope he's told you that story.
No, I haven't told her that story.
Oh.
Not
So,
yet. Not
so,
yet later.
so that would be my thing. Let's go in the reverse order. Cameron, Bob Iger sits down. He says, "Okay," or maybe Josh sits down with you and he says, "Okay, Cameron, what are we doing wrong? Why aren't there people coming to our parks?"
Have you seen how much it costs to get into these parks? As I said it before, when you start to price things so high that only a certain demographic can afford it, that demographic can afford to go other places. Because that demographic can afford to go other places, they're not looking at, unless they're very big Disney people, they're not looking to have a repeat trip to Disney over and over again. It's, I did the Disney thing. It was a one and done. Cool. Now we can go to Paris. Now we can go to Greece. Now we can go a myriad of other places that is not Disney. Like, Disney's cool, but it is not it's not an ultra luxury brand. There are parts of it that are ultra luxury, but those are only known by the people that are big Disney people. It is known by the big Disney people. Oh, you stayed on the monorail loop. You stayed at the Grand Floridian. You stayed at the Poly. You stayed at the Contemporary. You know, um, it's just, it really is supposed to be like a middle America, middle class, hey, come to Disney. Like, it's not supposed to be like super, super cheap, but it's also not supposed to be priced the way that it is. And I understand that it's a business. I totally understand that. But you're just pricing your people out, which they saw with this, oh, what is it called? The intergalactic cruiser,
Yeah, the Star Wars hotel.
like, that's, you priced people out, and you have a very strong fan base in Star Wars, but most of them are like, I can't afford that. And so the people that could afford it went and they said, okay, I did that. Now I can do something else.
Alexis, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I will kind of tack on to that. I will not say the same exact thing. I think for me, the biggest thing that has been so much worse, and it even got worse, like, from the time we started planning the wedding to when the wedding actually happened, the number of changes to not just the pricing, but how the pricing was done and how it impacts the experience, it was just so numerous. Because when we started, there was still a thought that FastPass might come back. They hadn't switched to Genie, they hadn't switched to paid Genie, they hadn't broken out individual rides away from the paid Genie. There were so many things that it used to be you got your ticket, you could do park hopper, and it was great. You just park hopped all day, you went back and forth, you had so much fun. Like, there was a lot of value in it, and it was very simple. Like, if you knew how to do the fast passes, great. If you didn't, that's fine. You still had a lot of park hopping, there was still a lot of opportunity there. But now everything is like, it's not just that it's much more complicated, it's that everything has become an extra cost on top of it. Um, you know, Beyond the park hopper, now it's the Genie Plus, and now you get the Genie Plus plus 2 or 3 rides that are split out, and they're going to be the most popular ones. And they're going to be $15 per person per ride, and you can only do one a day. And it's like, for a brand as big as Disney, and for parks that were always about magic, like, having these experiences that are like, pay to actually have this experience, because there's no way you're getting on some of those rides, especially not in any reasonable time. But like, some of those rides, you're just never going to get on them unless you pay, the 20 extra dollars. And so it becomes these experience where it's not just sort of, you've priced out at the base level. It's, you've priced out at the base level, and then you've nickel and dimed everybody else out along the way, so that you know you're pricing out everybody's experience into what they can afford, which is
Yeah.
was never the Disney magic. It was
Yeah.
always about sort of the whole experience.
Yeah. By the way, are those your cats or mine?
Mine.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. It's fine. I was just like, are those my cats?
I think it's I think it's interesting, Alexis. I usually like talk to people on like talk to my friends whenever they're like, "Oh, I'm going to Disney. What should I do? What should I do?" And this one person was like, "Hey, I'm going to Disney. I need some tips. I got the tickets and a hotel. Like, what should I do?" And I was like, "Get a travel agent. Like, unless you want to spend the hours that it's going to take for you to break down Genie Plus and figure out ADRs and do all of these other things, like, just get a travel agent. It's paid for by Disney. Like, because without that, like you said, it's just so much time. It's so complicated, and you're nickel and dime to death. Like, oh, these are the most popular rides, so no, that's not a part of Genie Plus. You have to pay $15 per person for each ride that you want to do.
Yeah, I agree with the complication. I think that's a big deal to me. When you're talking about the difference between 2019 and now where we are, it is night and day. Really, going to Disney World and seeing, because let's see, in 2021, I believe we went for 7 days, which was a lot. Um, but in 2023, we went for 2 or 3 days, and the cost difference between those two was staggering to me. It was just like, it's been 2 years. What? How did we get here? How did we get to this place? And I think I showed you,
What
Cameron.
has changed in
Like,
2 years?
like,
Certainly not Tron.
right, right, yeah. And then going back to when I took my family, it's for me, it's the cost and the complication. Because like now, I actually had said that we weren't going back to Disney, and then I got invited to the Alexis wedding, and I was very happy. Um, so my wife was like, not going back to Disney, huh? But
Apologies about
but
that.
no, don't apologize for something
He needed
amazing.
an excuse.
But yeah, now our next trip, we're talking about going international. We're talking about doing other stuff. And there was a quote that always sticks in my mind, and I wish I could remember who said it. I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was Tom Staggs, who was Josh D'Armo before Josh D'Armo. But someone said that Disney World's not competing against Orlando or Universal Studios. They're not competing against SeaWorld. They're competing against the Grand Canyon. They're competing against, New York City. Any other place that you would take your family for, you would take that middle class vacation, I'm going to do this. Any other place you do that, that's where Disney is competing against. If that's true, if that is still true, Disney is losing that battle. And you don't have to take my word for it. You just have to look at the parks and look at the deals that are coming out and look at all of this stuff, because the parks are just losing people. They are losing people. And I'll tell you the big problem with that. Yes, it's a big problem on their balance sheet today, but it's also a really big problem on their balance sheet for tomorrow. Because if Cameron's son goes to Disney and has that experience, it's great, it's all wonderful, but he never comes back because it's too expensive or too complicated or too whatever, Disney's lost that. They've lost that ability to get that money. And I think they used to believe that tomorrow was just as important as today is, that we better make your experience magical today, because tomorrow we want you to bring your kids back, or tomorrow we want your kids to come back with their kids, or something like that. I think somehow we've lost that. And I think that is, from my view, one of the biggest places we're losing the magic. I'll pause there to see if anybody has anything else to say before I
No,
ask.
I think you're right. I think Universal I live next to where they're building the regional Universal Park. And Universal is saying, well, if you cannot get to all the way to Orlando, or you can't make it all the way to Hollywood, like, let's still get you to these brands and get you, I don't want to say indoctrinated, Lord have mercy.
It is indoctrination. It is.
Yeah, like, let's get you so familiar with Universal that you can go there and go there and go there and get that fill, and then, oh, okay, well, yeah, of course we're gonna go. Saved up and went to Universal Orlando. Oh, we saved up and went to Universal Hollywood. Like, they're trying to get those people without diluting their brands on either coast. And it's a strategy that Disney is like, I still think Disney is like, oh, we're Disney. Well, at one time, Yahoo was king of search. At one time, like, Blockbuster, like, Netflix, psh, I got a Blockbuster card. Like, don't think that you are ever so big that you cannot fall. Like, Circuit City does not exist anymore. And at one time, they were the electronics store, and everyone was saying Best Buy who?
Well, isn't Circuit City like the big thing of Good to Great, the big business book? Like,
Yeah.
it was Good to Great was like all about Circuit City and look at Circuit City.
Good to great, Circuit
Yeah.
City, and
Circuit-
gone. Like, you're, well, unless you are a bank, you are never too big to fail.
I will say this, because I don't live far from Dollywood. Dollywood's closer to me than Disney World is. And I will say this, even though it's in the Tennessee mountains and that comes with Tennessee mountain stuff, I will say that it is a crazy good experience. And they were named, if you look at TripAdvisor, best parks in the U.S., best theme parks in the U.S., they were named as the top theme park in the U.S., and I absolutely know why. Like, they deliver on what they do. Do they have all the technology of Disney World? Absolutely not, right? They don't have the trackless ride system and all that stuff. But think about those technologies. Think about sometimes how they break down. Think about, I can't remember which trip it was, but I remember us in the virtual queue trying to get on Rise of the Resistance. And so we woke up and we had our phones and we were clicking. It was like, it was the 7 a.m. queue, and we were clicking and it was literally like 6:59, then it hit 7 o'clock, and by 7:01 it was like, sorry, you should try again in the park at the 1 p.m. window or whatever. And my wife was like, that's it? I was like, yeah, we don't get to ride. And she was like, that's the dumbest thing ever. It was like, all this cool technology, and we can't even stand in line long enough. And of course, that's changed and stuff. But and we did get to ride it, by the way. We did the 1 o'clock queue. But even at the 1 o'clock queue, one of the things we noticed, we were standing around in a group of a bunch of people who were all 1 o'clock trying to get on the ride. One of the things we noticed was that the people who stayed on property got tickets. The people who did not stay on property somehow didn't. They got on the bystander line. And I'm not going to say that Disney was planning that. I don't know. But that's all. That I recognize that. We'll call it a correlation. We'll call it a
Correlation, not causation.
Right. Yes. Correlation, not causation. Okay. So we've been talking a long time. I want to get y'all's final thoughts. When we talk about Disney parks, Bob sits down with you, says, hey, give me one solution, one thing I can do. And I'm gonna change the stakes here. I'm gonna say you can't say lower prices. I'm gonna say, what is one thing I can do? I'm Bob Iger. What is one thing I can do to, we'll do it, make Disney parks great again?
Oh, gosh.
Fine, here we go. Bob Iger sits down with you.
Alexa's like, nope, not going to do it. I'm with you, Alexis. I'm with you all the way.
Okay.
I just want to know.
Okay, all right. Bob Iger sits down with you, says, what can I do to make this better? You can't say lower prices, but we're bleeding, we're losing customers. What can I do to make this better? Alexis, ladies first. What do you think?
It's a good question. Well, it changes it because I can't say lower prices. Um, and I'm going to assume that you're also including I can't say don't nickel and dime because that's technically also saying no lower prices.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think one of the biggest things is what you just described is they've got these systems like the virtual queue, which I'm sure from a civil engineering standpoint make complete and total sense and they seem perfectly reasonable and are completely understandable things. Uh, but they just make the experience so much worse. Because, yeah, there are times, and especially for the Disney parks, which are oftentimes, you know, if you don't live in the area, you're doing it at best probably once a year, um, maybe twice a year if you don't live too far away. But like, if you live a long ways away, it's probably going to be every 3 or 4 years. Like it's a long time between going to the parks, and so if you show up, you're not going to be around for another 3 or 4 years, and you can't get on the ride, like the newest, biggest, whatever, the popular ride, like that's that's just not a good experience. There's that
Right.
talking about what you said earlier. That loses the magic for tomorrow because when I come back in 3 years, I may be able to ride that ride, but now I know that I'm not going to be able to ride whatever is the newest thing, and I'm going to feel forever excluded from this sort of new big great thing. I'm always going to feel on the outside. And so I think as much as I'm sure that they are civil engineering sound whatever, there's a lot of things that I think they need to do to just make sure that when people go, they actually get to do the things that they want to do and they're not blocked out by these silly technological limitations or whatever we're doing. Because there are people who will see a 4-hour line and go, you know what, this is worth it because it is, this ride and we really want to do it. Not me personally, but there's definitely people who will do that, and they're just getting excluded now.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's their choice too. I'm just going to tack on here. Like, yes, if you want to wait 4 hours for that ride, like, normally I would not wait 70 minutes for Soarin'. Soarin's not my favorite ride. I think it's cool, but it's fine. The reason I waited 70 minutes was because the last time we went, my youngest daughter was not tall enough to go on, and she was tall enough now to go on it. And so we did. We chose that 70 minutes. If and when we go back, which I don't think I'll go back till my girls are tall enough to go on Rock and Roller Coaster, like we will wait however long it takes to go on Rock and Roller Coaster together because that's kind of the thing we want to do. So yeah, don't take away. I like that. Don't take away that choice from people. I love that. Cameron, what do you got?
I can't say lower prices, and I
No,
can't say
like,
stop
literally,
nickel and diming.
These were the rules.
I know. I would probably say, take better care of your cast. Because I think when you hear people talk about working at Dollywood, it's not just like, oh, we have healthcare and stuff like that. No, they have like a doctor on site. Like if they have to go to the doctor, they go to work and there's a doctor there that they can go see. There's a clinic that they can go to. There's meals that they have that they don't pay extra for. It's just, hey, you work here, you eat. Like, take that money that we have all this profit. Look, shareholders, we have all this profit, and put it to the cast members. And I guarantee you, like, again, Alexis and I had very good experiences. And I'm sure if they invested that money into the cast members, like, I think everyone's experience would infinitely jump just because when people feel valued, when people feel appreciated, when people feel seen, Like, they're not just, oh, I'm here to do a job and collect a paycheck. It's, these people really are looking out for me. These people are, and again, it could not be they're looking out for me from the goodness of their heart. It's they're looking out for me because they want to make sure that I put my best foot forward whenever I have their brand's name in my hands, which is essentially what happens every time a cast member is like on stage. Like your Disney brand. If a cast member hauls off and punches someone in the face, that's your brand, and you are putting your brand in that person's hand. How valued does that person feel? How supported does that person feel? How much does that person feel tied to the company, and not just like a woo woo, you're working for Disney, this is so cool, but like in real tangible ways. They're paying me a good wage. They're taking care of me with my food. They're taking care of me. Like, I feel taken care of. Like, this is a great place to work. I would want everyone else to work here. Not, oh, it's cool, I get to go to the parks whenever I want. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you actually took the words out of my mouth, because that is, to me, one of the biggest things that they can do, which is invest in their staff, invest in don't, Alexis, you brought it up perfectly. When the pandemic happened, you stripped all this staff away and you never brought people back. And now, not only is your staff like overtired and all of that stuff, like you literally have, it was the first time that I had called Disney, and every single time I called, whether it was morning, night, afternoon, whatever, it was like, sorry for your wait, your call will be answered in 2 hours. Like, it was so ridiculous, like trying to do things and get things done just on that side of things. But then when you get in the parks, you can tell that the cast members are tired. You can tell that, they haven't opened up stuff, and the way Extra Magic Hours works now, it's just awful. It's not nearly as good as what it was before. I don't think they've even brought back the Kiss Goodnight, because the Kiss Goodnight, like, it doesn't, it was a COVID thing, and they said, oh, we don't want people staying too long in the parks or whatever. But to my knowledge, they haven't brought back the Kiss Goodnight. Maybe they have, but like, the Kiss Goodnight doesn't cost you anything. Like, literally, you have a park, people stay in it till the park closes, you play the little thing from all your characters that you already have pre-existing. There's no additional fireworks, nothing. It's just Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy and Daisy all saying goodnight. That's it. How much does that cost you? It doesn't cost you anything. It's a lot of magic. A lot of magic exists in that thing that doesn't cost you anything. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, I think investing in the staff, and even if you don't raise prices, whatever, take away a little bit from the shareholder, that's literally what profit is supposed to be for companies, by the way. Like, companies are supposed to take their profit and reinvest it in the company, reinvest it in their employees, reinvest it in all of that stuff. Disney right now does not appear to be doing that, and that's why I think they're having trouble. So.
Well, I think any good company will tell you, if you make that investment, it's an investment that's going to pay dividends far beyond what you could have paid from not taking that money. Like, oh, it's going to cost us. Yes, it will, but it's also going to cost you if you don't do that and these people stay. Like, how valued do they feel? How, like, people say that they worked at Disney, but no one's like, oh my gosh, like, you have to work there. It's just like, oh, it's something I did. Whereas when you talk to people who worked at Dollywood, good Lord, they are like, oh my gosh, best job ever.
We got to do a thing about Dollywood. It'll be nice. Okay, so Alexis, thank you so much for coming on the show and staying. I never told you how long it was going to be, so I appreciate you hanging in there with us. I appreciate that time.
Of course, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, Cameron. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show, Cameron. I appreciate you. I'm gonna let you stop polluting the environment so you could turn off your car, since you're in Texas and it's hot and all that stuff. Well, yeah, so thank you as well for joining and listening. I hope you have a magical day no matter where you are, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.